Hello and welcome to Families Moving Forward's Volunteer Orientation. I'm Ryan Furman, I'm the Executive Director, and I want to tell you a little bit more about the agency and the services that we provide. We provide housing and supportive services to help our families move from homelessness to housing. On this site, we're able to work with up to 21 families, providing case management and supportive services to help our families become independent and move into permanent housing. We can't do that work alone, and that's why your role as a volunteer is so incredibly important. So with that, I want to thank you for being here and welcome you to Families Moving Forward.
Hi, my name is Catherine Plyle and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Programs at Families Moving Forward. Thank you so much for your interest in volunteering with us at FMF. We literally could not run as we do without our volunteers and partners. Our whole service model is based on utilizing the talent and generosity of volunteers throughout the agency, both directly and indirectly. Because volunteers are such an important part of the FMF team, we're very intentional about our approach to volunteering. We integrate volunteers across all parts of the agency, matching volunteer skills and interests with roles. We try to support our volunteers in their work while empowering them to take charge wherever possible. Through this orientation, we hope to help you understand Families Moving Forward, our history, and our variety of programs and services so that you know how your work helps the families we serve. We want you to feel comfortable and ready when you come to FMF to serve for the first time. And for those of you who will be working with our children, we want to share our guidelines and some tricks and tips to ensure you feel prepared to keep our kids safe when you're working with them. The safety of our guests is of utmost priority, and ensuring that we have well-trained volunteers is a key part of our effort to create a safe, stable environment that is so important to the success of our families. After completing this orientation, I believe you'll better understand your important role at FMF and will feel ready to make a major difference in the lives of our families. This orientation will hopefully make volunteering here both more rewarding for you and more effective in terms of helping our families. So let me say again, thank you for your interest in volunteering with us. We're excited you're here.
At Families Moving Forward, our mission is to offer a temporary home to families with children in the crisis of homelessness. Working together, we create a path to stability and self-sufficiency through personalized services and ongoing community support. We serve all families here at Families Moving Forward, offering support to both single and two-parent households, as well as any adult with custody of children. This means we will serve grandparents caring for their grandchildren or aunts taking care of their nieces and nephews. We think it is imperative to keep families together during such a trying, traumatic time, and by doing so, we can better help and support them. Our residential building includes 20 rooms, and we have one overflow room in our programming building. This means that we usually serve between 65 to 70 people at a time. Generally, this breaks down into a house of about 20 to 25 adults and approximately 40 kids. The average family staying at Families Moving Forward has 2 children. We serve a range from families with just a single child to families that have 6 or 7. A lot of different people make Families Moving Forward work. First, we've got our Executive Director, Ryan Furman, who you have already met. Next, there's our Residential Services team, made up of our Family Services Coordinators and Team Associates. This team provides case management to all of our guests here. We've also got an incredibly dedicated Facilities Manager, Tim James, who keeps everything up and running around here. We also have our development team, which oversees our in-kind donations and our fundraising efforts. And finally, there's our programming team, which conducts the various classes and programs our guests enjoy, as well as manages our volunteer program and our multitude of community partners. Here is a breakdown of the various teams and their leaders here at Families Moving Forward. Families Moving Forward is a relatively new organization, at least officially. We formed out of a merger between Durham Interfaith Hospitality Network and Genesis Home. two organizations with nearly 50 years of experience serving families experiencing homelessness here in Durham. Families Moving Forward was officially created on January 1st, 2016. The staff of Genesis Home and Durham Interfaith Hospitality Network spent the spring preparing to consolidate their resources. And on July 1st, 2016, they both moved onto one site, completing the last stage of the merger and finally joining together under one roof. Genesis Home began serving the Durham community as a transitional shelter in 1989. However, after nearly 30 years of operation, Genesis Home began to contemplate a change. Transitional shelters like Genesis Home were shelters designed to house guests for up to 2 years, and during this time, guests would build skills and connect with community resources that would help them prepare to move out into permanent housing. Recently, though, funding and support for transitional shelters have started to dry up as a new rapid rehousing model focused on moving families out of shelter and into permanent housing within 90 days has become the accepted best practice. Instead of transitional shelters, emergency shelters, which are designed for short-term stays, were seen as the best temporary home for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. To continue to gain funding and to better serve families by implementing a new best practice, Genesis Home needed to shift away from being a transitional shelter and become an emergency shelter. Luckily, one of their organizational partners had a long operating program as an emergency shelter and might be able to help them in their transition. Additionally, this organization had hundreds of great volunteers that could potentially help serve Genesis Home and their families as well. That partner was Durham Interfaith Hospitality Network. Durham Interfaith Hospitality Network, or DIHN, already operated as an emergency shelter and had been doing so since 1994. DIHN's model used church congregations to serve as nightly hosts for families experiencing homelessness, feeding and housing families at local churches. Here's how DIHN's model worked. Congregations would house the families at night at their church, then bring them to a centrally located office called the day house in the morning so that the parents could go off to work and the kids could get on the school bus for school. The families would then return to the day house at night to be transported back to the church where they would get a hot meal and a bed. The day house also served as the case management hub for DIHN. However, DIHN decided they wanted to have a permanent site in order to best serve the families they worked with while maintaining the relationships with all of their wonderful volunteers. Fortunately, their partner, Genesis Home, already had a permanent site. To meet both organizations' needs, such as helping Genesis Home transition into an emergency shelter and providing DIHN with their permanent site, the two agencies merged. This allowed them to pool their resources, access more funding streams, and provide more programming for the families they served. All in all, the combined agency is better able to serve families experiencing homelessness here in Durham. The two agencies officially became one on January 1st, 2016. Now that we have covered Families Moving Forward's past, we can discuss its present. These are the programs and services we offer our families to build a path to self-sufficiency. We offer 3 main services to meet the needs of the families that we work with. First, we have the Nest. This is our residential program, and it involves providing shelter for our families, as well as matching them with a family services coordinator who provides personalized case management. Second, we have consistent, ongoing programming for adults and children alike, which helps all of our guests build skills, learn, and grow. Third, we have Branching Out, our aftercare program in which we continue to provide support and personalized case management for families that have moved out of shelter. The NEST stands for Neighbors Experiencing Success Together. Families in the NEST each get a suite to stay in here in our shelter, and during their time, they received personalized case management in a safe and stable environment. Case managers, also called Family Services Coordinators, help to link our families with community resources, whether to permanent housing, job opportunities, or job training events, educational opportunities for themselves or their children, and anything and everything else that might help our families. We hope each family that moves into the NEST is able to move out into permanent housing within 90 days. We also offer consistent, ongoing programming all throughout the year for both adults and children. For example, every Monday through Thursday we host Dine and Learn. During Dine and Learn, volunteers provide a meal for our families, and after dinner both adults and children engage in educational programming. The adults take part in our adult workshops, which cover a wide variety of subjects. Some classes hopefully relieve stress, like art therapy and yoga. Some are designed to build skills, such as effective communication or networking classes, and others will just impart useful knowledge, like our parenting courses or our healthy behavior cohorts. While the adults are in class, our school-age residents are in Study Buddies, a program that pairs each child with a volunteer that helps them with their homework. Through this, we hope to help our kids not only keep up in school, but thrive and succeed at the highest level. We also have programming at night for our youngest children who participate in our fun-filled children's programming. Through reading, coloring, and games, we hope to aid our preschool guests in their development and help them gain valuable skills for when they'll start school. We also have our mentoring program. As a mentor, volunteers walk with one of our adult residents during their stay in the NEST. Through this program, we hope to build strong bonds between community members and give our families powerful support on a one-to-one level. In addition to these regular programs that occur nightly, we have fun weekend events like movie nights and birthday parties, and we have outings in the community, such as to the Life and Science Museum. We hope that by offering such a wide range of consistent programming, our families find enjoyment in their stay here and also gain tools and take part in experiences that will help them be successful after their exit from Families Moving Forward. Another service model is our aftercare program called Branching Out, which stands for Building Relationships to Anchor Our Transition. It is a program our families begin when they exit Families Moving Forward and move into permanent housing. We do not stop working with our families when they move out. Instead, we continue to work with and support them. We have 2 aftercare case managers who work with just our aftercare families, helping to link those families to valuable community resources and providing 12 months of case management upon their exit from Families Moving Forward. We do not only support our families in their new homes, but we welcome them back to FMF for our Wednesday night alumni classes, where they continue to work with our facilitators, build skills, and gain valuable insights. By continuing to help our families after they move out of FMF, we build on the strong foundation they have laid in their time here and continue to help our families in any way that we can. Some families in Branching Out also take part in our Circles of Support program. Through Circles of Support, a family partners with a small group of volunteers who help to empower and support that household as they move into permanent housing. Through periodic meetings over the course of 12 months, Circles provide assistance, guidance, and mentoring to the household to help them sustain permanent housing, increase self-sufficiency, and achieve their goals. We cannot operate and succeed without ongoing community support. Without our community partners and our volunteers, our families would miss out on a tremendous amount of programming and services. Families Moving Forward is a member of a formal collaborative of organizations working together to end family homelessness here in Durham. using a 2-generational approach, Urban Ministries of Durham, Families Moving Forward, Housing for New Hope, and Durham's Partnership for Children have created a system to end this crisis. Urban Ministries of Durham provides overflow shelter units for families as needed, as well as staff support for the diversion program, which is designed to help families out of the shelter system by providing support in their current housing arrangements through rental assistance, landlord negotiation, and connection to supportive services. Families Moving Forward provides emergency shelter and related programmatic support for families as well as aftercare support for up to 12 months once families are in permanent housing. Housing for New Hope coordinates the rapid rehousing program for families, providing upfront and short to medium-term financial support to help families get into permanent housing quickly. Durham Partnership for Children supports efforts to enhance the healthy development and school readiness of young children in shelter as well as once they are in permanent housing. Our community partners provide a huge number of the volunteers that serve FMF. Without such passionate support from a multitude of congregations, many of the local colleges and universities, civic organizations and community groups, and various nonprofits, we would not be able to offer so many programs and help our children and families in so many ways. These partners are a huge part of the work we are able to achieve here. So thank you so much for all that you do. Enjoy a short video that shows our volunteers in action and helps explain the profound impact they have on the families we all are working so hard to serve.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Darius couldn't read at all. I would try with him, but he would get frustrated. So he wasn't reading at all when he started first grade. I just knew he just needed some help.
We focus on families because children are the poorest Americans. Almost half of the children in the United States are living disturbingly close to the poverty line, according to recent research from the National Center for Children in Poverty. According to the NCCP researchers, the number of poor children in the U.S. grew by 18% from 2008 to 2014. This means that there are 100 more children in Durham in families who are at high risk of needing our shelter services. Research shows poverty is a strong predictor of children's success in school as well as later in life when it comes to jobs and wages. Compared to their peers, children living in poverty experience more hunger, poorer health, higher incidences of developmental delays, and learning disabilities. Our goal is to break the cycle of poverty by providing the early interventions our youngest and most vulnerable guests need so they can have the early childhood services that are critical for their long-term success. When families enter shelter, children birth to 5 will be assessed for any delays or special needs like speech therapy, occupational therapy, or other services of the like. We partner with Care Coordination for Children through the Durham County Health Department, and they provide the developmental assessments for the children birthed to 5.
Schooling is now just means the world to me, and honestly, I wish I could go back. Before, she had a hard time doing her work and would not do her work, her homework. But since coming to Study Buddies, she's actually doing her work and doing it on her own. Honestly, I just want them to complete high school, go to college, graduate college, pretty much set goals for themselves and accomplish it, because I know I didn't. I dropped out of school in the 9th grade.
I think one day earlier this year in January, he just read out a word, and I was like, oh, where did you learn that word from? So I got really excited, like, oh, my son knows how to read, and he just progressed, like, fast, very fast.
Thank you!
There's more children like these children who need
study buddies. They really need that, and it gives them direct, hands-on help, and it's just they look forward to going. And I think y'all are making a big difference in their lives.
Here are some of our volunteers working on all sorts of projects, from sorting and organizing our storage closets to decorating for the holidays to putting on great parties for our kids. Cannot overemphasize how important volunteers are to FMF. We simply would not be able to offer all of our programs without a huge level of community engagement and commitment. Without volunteers, we would not be able to provide nightly classes, offer one-on-one homework help, work with our toddlers, and offer as much support for our families as we do. Volunteers are integrated into every level of our agency, from the programming team to the residential staff to our facilities department. With your hard work, Families Moving Forward is able to have a much larger impact in the community than we otherwise could have. So thank you for being interested in working with us, as we need your help to continue to drive change here in Durham and for our families. In 2016, Families Moving Forward was chosen as one of 5 Triangle nonprofit organizations to engage in the Service Enterprise Initiative certification process. Participating in the SEI program helps nonprofits learn and implement best practices when it comes to volunteering and volunteer engagement. Through this, nonprofits can become more effective and efficient when compared to other nonprofit organizations. It also helps them get a higher return on investment on the money invested in their volunteer program. By going through the SEI process and becoming SEI certified, Families Moving Forward has implemented these best practices, integrating volunteers into all areas of our agency, making more efficient and effective use of volunteers, and hopefully helping to make their time more enjoyable and engaging. As a service enterprise, our agency, our staff, and our community partners will all have a greater impact on the families we are serving. The rest of the orientation will cover a selection of our volunteer guidelines. All volunteers should download a copy of our volunteer handbook at the end of this orientation by clicking on the link provided. Volunteers are responsible for knowing and understanding all guidelines and expectations outlined within, so please read over it. However, to avoid any confusion, we will cover a few specific guidelines right now and also provide some specific examples that should be helpful during your service here. If you have questions regarding these guidelines or anything within the volunteer handbook, please either include your questions in the survey at the end or reach out directly to the Community Engagement Coordinator. We will begin with conduct guidelines. These guidelines will relate to the conduct expectations we have for all of our volunteers. Volunteers cannot use or be under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs while serving at Families Moving Forward. If you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol before your scheduled service, please simply call or email to let us know that you will be unable to attend, and we will see you next time. Confidentiality is extremely important at Families Moving Forward. Do not share any identifying information about our guests with anyone not directly involved with Families Moving Forward. In general, please keep any information you learn about our guests to yourself. If you see one of our guests out and about in the community, please be mindful of their privacy. If they wave to you or come up to say hello, of course be polite and respond. However, do not reveal where you know them or that they stay at Families Moving Forward. Also, please avoid initiating conversation, if at all possible. By doing this, you can protect their privacy and avoid stigmatizing any of our guests in the community. At times during your service here, guests may tell you details of their life in confidence. If this occurs, please keep what they have told you to yourself. There should only be one exception to this rule, and that is where safety is concerned. If someone tells you something that makes you think they are in danger or that their safety could be compromised, please share that with another staff member overseeing the service. They will then communicate this information to the Family Services Coordinator working with that family. It is very possible that you may know or be related to someone staying here at Families Moving Forward. This creates a very tricky situation for volunteers, as there is a serious potential for conflicts of interest, favoritism, or the appearance of conflicts of interest and favoritism. Due to the damage these situations could cause to the morale of our residents, we ask that you please inform us as soon as possible of any family members or acquaintances you have staying here at FMF. If you're aware of it before you volunteer, please contact the Community Engagement Coordinator to discuss the appropriate volunteer role for you. If you learn of it during your service, please speak with the staff member overseeing your project to determine the best course of action. In general, we ask that you make sure that you work with all of our guests, not just the one that you are related to, while you are volunteering. This will help to mitigate any appearances of favoritism and help us to maintain a healthy, happy, supportive environment. Gifts should not be given directly to our residents by volunteers. This also helps us ensure that there is no appearance of favoritism between volunteers and certain guests, which helps us maintain the morale of our residents. Any item could be considered a gift, including small items like pencils, candy, and books. Volunteers should also avoid receiving any gifts guests might offer. However, all of this is not to say that we do not accept donations. We have many items we are constantly in need of, and if you would like to help, please contact our development associate. She can tell you both what items we are in need of and schedule a time for you to drop them off. If, for whatever reason, you want to provide a donation for a specific guest that you have met and grown close to during your service here, please speak with the staff to determine how to best arrange this. Please do not share your personal information with our guests. This includes email addresses, phone numbers, street addresses, and social media information. The sharing of such information, like the giving of gifts, can also lead to the appearance of favoritism, which will impact morale. Sharing such information also muddies the boundaries that should exist between volunteers and our guests. If you build a strong relationship with one of our guests, and come to a point where you really do want to share personal information to continue that relationship, please speak with staff. There are specific volunteer opportunities that allow for the creation and nurturing of strong interpersonal relationships, such as our mentor program and our Circles of Support program. We would love for you to build strong relationships with our guests and help support them, but we do need to ensure that this is done in an appropriate way and in the right context. For more information on these additional volunteer opportunities, please speak with the Community Engagement Coordinator. As previously mentioned, volunteers are vital to the successful operation of Families Moving Forward. We need you. We have promised our families that they will enjoy specific programs, and the only way to live up to that promise is for our families to continue to be engaged and to continue to serve here. That means that when you sign up, our families are counting on you to show up. Of course, we realize that life happens, and if for some reason you cannot attend your scheduled volunteer activity, if you are a rotational volunteer, please contact your coordinator. All other volunteers, please go online to our volunteer database and unregister. If you unregister less than 24 hours ahead of your scheduled service, please contact the Families Moving Forward staff member in charge of your project. This way, they can try to find fill-in volunteers if needed. Since many of you will be engaged in children's programming or study buddies, we will now cover some guidelines for working with our children, as well as provide some tips and tricks for how to get the most out of this valuable time. Our agency rules are posted around FMF facility, as well as in our playroom and the arts and crafts room where study buddies occur. They are: use quiet voices, raise your quiet hand for help, sit in your seat, keep your body to yourself, and speak kind words. When children are misbehaving, please begin by pointing the rules out to them to remind them of our expectations. In this way, you can set consistent limits for the children, which helps build needed structure. We put all of these rules in place to make sure that our children are safe and that they feel safe. Safety comes first here, and we have a few ways for volunteers to make our children feel safe while they are here. Creating structure is the first way to make children feel safe. Structure limits children's uncertainty, as it helps them to know what they will be doing each night and what they can expect. We can create structure through routines and through limits. With routines, we help our children get used to doing things a certain way each night. Routines lead to trust and safety, reduce power struggles, and develop leadership skills. Through limits, we provide clear rules that they are to follow. Remind the children you work with that these routines and these limits all help to ensure their safety. In general, when working with children, especially children who are upset that they are not able to do what they want to do, let them know that everything you do comes from your goal of teaching them how to be safe. By keeping safety and our rules in mind and making it a part of what we talk about with our kids on a nightly basis, we all can help them feel safer and more comfortable during children's programming and study buddies. We can also help them learn rules and routines, which will allow them to do more structured learning activities. In order to assist you in your work with our children, we have compiled a list of tips for how to best engage them during programming. These tips come from the professionals at the Exchange Family Center here in Durham, who specialize in family support, early childhood development, and best practices for working with children. First, make sure that when you provide directions to a child, do not ask them what they want to do. Tell them what you are all going to do. For example, do not say, "Would you like to clean up now?" Simply tell them, "It's time to clean up." Second, be close to the child when giving directions, preferably on their level. Do not yell at them from across the room or stand over top of them. Third, make instructions simple and only give them one at a time. Fourth, give children time to process directions or new information. And finally, provide directions using first-then structure. This is clear, direct, age-appropriate, and removes power struggles, meaning you won't have to negotiate with the children. An example would be, first, sit down, and then we can play with the puzzle. Another example is, first, finish your math homework, and then we can color. Here at Families Moving Forward, we do not punish children. That means that if a child is not listening to you or is misbehaving, you should not yell at them, and you should not send them to timeout. Instead, you should try to redirect them to a new activity. For example, if they are not sitting and listening to you read a book to them, instead of getting upset, please try to turn their attention to maybe coloring a picture or telling you a story. Or if they are not doing their math problems, try to redirect their attention to reading a passage instead. Some tips to remember when redirecting children. First, have the children breathe deeply and do it yourself so that the children can try to match their breathing with yours. Hopefully doing this, you can help them relax. Second, remind children of the rules and point them out on the walls of the playroom or arts and crafts room. And third, using language that references safety, such as "we need to follow directions to make sure everyone is safe." This will remind them that following the rules and directions is here to help them remain safe. One strategy that may prove valuable to you when working with our children is the Flip It strategy. Flip It stands for feelings, limits, inquiries, and prompts. Using the 4 steps of the Flip It strategy can help you engage with the children when their behavior may be challenging. First, feelings. When children are upset, gently talk with the child about their feelings. Tell them what you are seeing and hearing that are a result of the child's emotions, and try to tell the child how you think they're feeling based on those behaviors. Talking to them about the behaviors and feelings you are seeing may help them identify the root of their behavior, which will support the child's own emotional awareness. Next, limits. After showing that you understand how they feel, remind the child of the positive limits and rules that are in place. Loving and simple limits like the ones we have help surround children with a sense of consistency, safety, and trust. Next, inquiries. While discussing the child's feelings and reminding them of the rules, encourage them to think about solutions to their challenges. Ask them open-ended questions, which can help lead to better coping strategies and problem-solving skills. This will help them think and learn better, and also gain more self-control. Finally, use prompts. Provide creative cues, clues, and suggestions for a child that is having difficulty. This can also bolster their problem-solving abilities. With the Flip It system, you can manage challenging behavior while also helping the children learn important skills and lessons. For more information and more examples of Flip It, feel free to click on the link at the bottom of the slide. Here at Families Moving Forward, we practice trauma-informed care. One facet of this care is to limit physical contact with our guests. Because we do not know what all of our guests have gone through, we try to limit unwanted or unexpected physical contact. This helps us prevent a recurrence of trauma. So please do limit your physical contact with the children you work with. However, this does not mean you cannot touch them. It is very important that while we keep our trauma-informed approach in mind, we still create a loving, warm environment for our kids to learn and have fun. This is needed to combat the effects of toxic stress. Toxic stress can occur when children experience prolonged hardship or adversity, and the negative feelings caused by these experiences can lead to the disruption of healthy development. We know now that toxic stress can particularly affect brain development of children experiencing homelessness. And so to combat this, we want to create a sense of belonging. This means that while we need you to try to limit physical contact, please do show warmth and affection, especially volunteers that are working with our birth to 5-year-olds. In practice, this means that if the children hug you, you can certainly hug them back. For younger children, you are allowed to put them on your lap if you think that will benefit them. Sometimes, even with your best efforts, a child may simply refuse to listen or refuse to work. If your attempts at redirection or using the Flip It techniques have failed, please call for a staff member who can assist you. If there is ever a physical altercation between school-aged children and study buddies, please call for help immediately so that a staff person can address this problem. With younger children, please simply separate children if they are fighting and call for staff if you need help. We will now cover important logistical information that will help you know what to expect when you come to volunteer for the first time. Rotational volunteers should arrive between 5 p.m. and 5:15 on Monday nights for dinner. This will give you time to set up before dinner begins at 5:30. Dinner volunteers on Tuesday through Thursday nights should arrive between 5:15 p.m. and 5:30. Dinner begins on those nights at 5:45. For children's programming volunteers, please arrive no later than 6:15 each night of the week. Upon completing your volunteer service, please exit the building and leave the premises. Please be mindful that this is our guest's home, and by leaving after your service is over, you are helping respect them and their privacy. Please arrive a maximum of 15 minutes before your scheduled volunteer service. We do not really have a place for volunteers to wait for extended periods of time. Upon completing your volunteer service, please exit the building and leave the premises. This is our guest's home, and by leaving upon completion of your volunteer activity, you are helping us respect them and their privacy. Parking is available in both the upper and lower parking lots and along the street. The lower lot is generally full, so your best bet will be to look for parking in the upper lot and on the street. Please avoid parking in the 2 spots in the upper parking lot that are closest to the door, as those are reserved for our evening staff. Because we do not have a lot of space to store items, it is best if volunteers leave most of their personal belongings in their cars when they come to volunteer. We recommend just bringing your phone and keys in with you. However, if you do need to store your purse, backpack, or jacket while you work with our families, we can find a place to put them, such as the locked staff office. Just speak with the staff member overseeing your service and they will be happy to assist you. For rotational volunteers on Monday nights, please ring the doorbell at the main door located off of the upper parking lot. This applies to both volunteers serving dinner and those helping with children's programming. For rotational volunteers on Tuesday through Thursday nights, please go to the lower parking lot, walk up the ramp onto the porch, and knock on the big blue door. Staff will then let you in. This also applies to dinner volunteers and children's programming volunteers. Upon arrival, please sign in with the staff member overseeing your volunteer service. They will get you registered for the event in our service volunteer database. If you have not volunteered before, you may have to complete your registration, although you should do this before volunteering. Please remember to register beforehand so that staff simply has to sign you in and print out a name tag. This will expedite the process. Please also be patient if you have a large group. It is important we sign everyone in so that our volunteer database is up to date, and we will get everyone in the system as quickly as possible. When you arrive, a staff member will provide you with a name tag. On Mondays, rotational volunteers will make their own. However, during the rest of the week, name tags will be printed off once you sign in. Please make sure to wear your name tag at all times so that staff and residents know that you are a volunteer. Staff will also be wearing name badges, which will have their picture and their name and position. If you're looking for a staff member, look for someone wearing one of those distinctive badges. Please remember that for our guests, Families Moving Forward is their home. Due to this, we ask that you respect their privacy and do not wander around Families Moving Forward without staff. We do have some restricted areas that volunteers should not venture into. In general, please stay in the area of your volunteer service. If you need to go elsewhere, please ask staff to accompany you. In the event of an injury, please know that each staff office has a first aid kit. If an injury or emergency occurs, please alert staff as soon as possible. If you are medically trained professional or happen to have CPR training, you can assist in these situations. However, only do what you are comfortable doing and what you are trained and licensed to do. this is not the time to give CPR a try. Also, if an injury does occur and it is more than a scrape, we will have you fill out an injury report. Please simply ask a member of staff in this event and they will provide this form for you, which will need to be completed and sent back within 24 hours. If a child is hurt in any way, please tell their parent or let staff know so that we can inform the parent. We will now cover a few last guidelines that we think are especially important to clarify and emphasize. Due to the risk of bedbugs in any communal living space and the increased occurrence of bedbugs across the country, we want to provide some tips for avoiding them. We do occasionally have incidences of bedbugs here at Families Moving Forward, but there are ways to greatly reduce the risk. First, we will let you know if there are any bedbugs in our guest rooms. However, because there are precautions you can take, and because bedbugs do not spread through interpersonal contact, we will still expect you to come to your volunteer shift. Families Moving Forward takes precautions to limit our risks of having bedbugs. The facility is treated every quarter for bedbugs. We also have every incoming family dry their clothes before bringing them into the shelter. They dry their clothes for at least 30 minutes on the highest heat setting. Drying clothes is something you can also do to reduce the risk of bedbugs. After you volunteer, simply place your clothes in the dryer and heat for at least 30 minutes. You can also use 91% rubbing alcohol. Spray it all over your body, on your clothes and shoes, and it should take care of any bed bugs. There have never been any staff or volunteers that took bed bugs home with them, so please do not fret. Simply take some precautions to reduce your risk. Occasionally, we have some bad winter weather here in the Triangle. In the event of such weather, we generally follow the Durham Public Schools policy. So if they cancel after-school activities or they cancel school, we will cancel programming and therefore volunteering for the evening. In the event of a cancellation, we will reach out to confirm that you should not come to volunteer. During the spring and summer months, we will contact you directly. However, you can also call or email the Community Engagement Coordinator if you have questions regarding inclement weather. If any volunteer ever needs hours approved for a service learning class or would like a letter of recommendation, we are happy to oblige. For service learning hour verification, please give us a day's notice. If you would like a letter of recommendation, we do ask that you provide 2 weeks' notice, providing us with all of the contact information. Thank you for your help with this. If you would like to take pictures of your volunteers on site, you are welcome to do that. We just ask that you tag us in any post about your volunteer experience. Please do not take pictures of our guests, however. If you have guests in your picture, or for some reason need to include them, please contact our Director of Development to get approval. If you have any questions about photography in general, please contact the Community Engagement Coordinator. When posting about your volunteer experience, please make sure to identify yourself as a Families Moving Forward volunteer. Please also tag us in anything that you post about your experience here. We would love to share it. That's it. Well, almost. There are a few steps for you to complete on the next slide, but otherwise, this completes the Families Moving Forward online volunteer orientation session. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about our work and to learn how you can help us do more for the community. We are so happy you chose to partner with us to serve our families. Congratulations! You have completed the Families Moving Forward online volunteer orientation. Now you need to complete a couple of things to be ready to volunteer. First, click on the link to take the orientation quiz. This will cover the material included in this presentation. Next, if you are planning to work with children as a Families Moving Forward volunteer, we do require a completed background check. We will email you a link to complete a free, secure background check as soon as we get the results from your quiz. Last, register in our service volunteer database so that we have all of your information. This will allow us to contact you in case anything happens and protects Families Moving Forward from liability. It also allows you to sign up for your volunteer projects ahead of time, which we need you to do. Please make sure to upload a picture so that we have a photo ID on record. You can complete a quick feedback survey for the entire orientation process. This will help us improve this process in the future, and it will also allow you to ask any questions you may have from this session. You can also download a copy of the Volunteer Handbook. We strongly encourage you to read it in its entirety. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact the Community Engagement Coordinator. We will be happy to assist you with anything that needs clarification. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to go through this session. We look forward to working with you.